नमस्कार. महाराष्ट्रातील विविध क्षेत्रातील बातम्या झटपट आपल्या मोबाईलवर पाहण्यासाठी लगेचच सबस्क्राइब करा राष्ट्रशक्ती लाईव्ह न्यूज आणि सोबत बेल आयकॉन प्रेस करायला विसरू नका.
वाइस चांसलर प्रोफेसर प्रकाश महानवार, गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर प्रोफेसर आयमन T.R. Yusuf, Pro Vice Chancellor Professor Lakshmikant Dama, my friend and Director of School of Social Sciences, and Bharat Ratna Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Chair, Professor Gautam Kamble, convener of this conference, Dr. Prabhakar Pulekar, my friend Raja Sarvade, distinguished invitees on the stage, off the stage, faculty members of this university, non-teaching staff, students, researchers, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure. It gives me a great pleasure to be with all of you today. It is my distinct honor to have been invited to inaugurate this two-day international conference on a theme, the mind that moved the millions, unfolding the global relevance of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. At the very outset, I congratulate the Vice Chancellor and Professor Gautam Kamble and his team for organizing this conference and organizing it so well. This is a conference on a subject of a great contemporary relevance, and I am very happy that this university, Punya Shlok Ahilya Devi Holkar Solapur University, has taken initiative to organize this international conference. As my friend Sarvade was saying, no other university has done that in so much that Solapur University, Ahilya Holkar University is doing. And I really commend all the efforts that you are making. And you mentioned the big project that is lying with the central government. I am no longer a parliamentarian, but whatever help you need, I assure you that on my side, I will be doing that. In this two-day conference, a wide range of thoughts are going to be explained, spoken to you about, discussed. We all know Dr. Ambedkar was a multifaceted genius. He was one of the most illustrious sons of India. Just look at the broad range and versatility of his proficiency. He was a knowledge seeker all his life. He was an economist. He was an educationist. He was a social reformer. He was an economic administrator. He was a socialist, a sociologist, anthropologist, and a contemporary historian. Dr. Ambedkar was a prolific writer. Perhaps no other mass leader in our country has produced anywhere near even close to what Dr. Ambedkar has produced. 22 books on wide range of subjects. Dr. Ambedkar was also a reflective thinker, Chintansheel Vicharak, Vicharvant, an erudite scholar, Prakanda Pandit. He was a journalist, orator, statesman, and of course a mass leader. Dr. Ambedkar was the principal architect of the Indian Constitution, and he was one of the strongest champions of democracy and the greatest defender of human rights in India. He was an authority on comparative religion, and in the second half of his life, he devoted himself with his followers to convert himself into Buddhism, and he became a champion of Buddhism. It is hard to believe that in a short life of 65 years, this man, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, this mind which moved the millions of people in one short life of 65 years, it is unimaginable. The kind of contribution that he has made is phenomenal. All these words, all these adjectives fall short of capturing the essence of what he has contributed. To my mind, he made millions of people in our country ask themselves a very simple question. For 3,000 years, this question was not asked. He made them ask themselves a question. It may be in the interest of others to be your masters, But why should it be in your interest to be their slave? तुम्हाला गुलाम ठेवणं हे इतरांच्या फायद्याचं असेल, परंतु त्यांचा गुलाम म्हणून राहणं हे तुमच्या फायद्याचं कसं आहे याचा विचार करा. 3000 years this question was not asked. आणि ज्यावेळी हा प्रश्न विचारण्यात आला त्यावेळी जी जागृती झाली त्याचं प्रत्युत्तर आज येताना आपण पाहतो आहोत. एक फार मोठा समाज जागा झाला आणि त्यांची अस्मिता जागृत झाली आणि नंतर काय झालं आपण पाहतोच आहोत. मला असं वाटतं की ही जी मला सांगण्यात आलेलं आहे की काही भाग तरी मराठीत बोलावं म्हणून मी मधून मधून मराठीत बोलतो आहे, पण त्यामुळे मला फ्लो कमी करायचा नाही आणि वेळेमध्ये संपवायचं आहे. डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकरांच्या वेगवेगळ्या पैलूंवर अनेक विचारवंत इथे विचार मांडणार नाही त्या 2 दिवसाच्या आंतरराष्ट्रीय परिषदेमध्ये. आणि मला सांगण्यात आलेलं आहे की मी 2 विषयांवर पुरतं सीमित करावं. एक अर्थशास्त्र आणि दुसरं कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन किंवा संविधान. हे दोन्ही विषय खरं म्हणजे खूप मोठे विषय आहेत, परंतु मी एक धावता आढावा घेण्याचा प्रयत्न करणार आहे. तुमच्या माहितीसाठी सांगतो की भीमभाष्य नावाची एक पॉडकास्ट सिरीज उपलब्ध आहे युट्यूबवर, ज्याच्यामध्ये डॉक्टर आंबेडकरांच्या 25 पैलूंबद्दल 20-20 मिनिटाचं अशी भाषणं मी केलेली आहेत आणि ती इंग्लिश, मराठी आणि हिंदीमध्ये आहे. म्हणजे भाषेचं कुठलंही तिथे काही अडचण येत नाही. 3 भाषांमध्ये मी केलेलं आहे, युट्यूबवर उपलब्ध आहे, आपण अवश्य ते पाहावं. तर मी आयोजकांनी विनंती केल्याप्रमाणे अर्थशास्त्र आणि संविधान या 2 विषयावरती जास्त लक्ष केंद्रित करणार आहे. डॉक्टर आंबेडकर वॉज इसेन्शियली एन इकॉनॉमिस्ट. इफ यू लुक एट ऑल हिज डिग्रीज, most of his degrees other than barrister at law, all other degrees were in economics. He had MA in economics from Columbia University. The year was 1915. He had a PhD in economics from the same Columbia University, United States. The year was 1917. Then he went to UK and he did Doctor of Science in Economics from London School of Economics. And while doing Doctor of Science, while studying the Doctor of Science for the degree of Doctor of Science, he also studied law and became barrister at law. So most of his degrees, other than barrister's degree, they were all in economics. So he was essentially a trained economist. And he wrote 3 books on economics. First book is a short one, that is a thesis that he wrote for MA degree. The title was Administration and Finance of the East India Company. In this short essay thesis, what Dr. Ambedkar has done is to talk about how between the period 1792 to 1858, how the finances of East India Company changed and how the British government, through the East India Company, exploited the Indian population. That is a short essay that he wrote when he was only 24 years old. Then comes his PhD dissertation. His PhD dissertation is titled The Evolution of Provincial Finances in British India. What does he do in that? Everything that he has done has a global dimension. I'm going to talk about that. His PhD dissertation talks about, typically his style at that time was to take a long-term historical overview and then focus on the current issues. So here he talks about between the long period of 1833 to 1921. For this long period, he analyzes the relationship between the British central government and the British provinces. आपण ज्याला आज राज्य म्हणतो त्यांना त्यावेळी प्रॉव्हिन्सेस म्हणत असेल. म्हणजे आजच्या भाषेत सांगायचं झालं तर सेंट्रल स्टेट रिलेशनशिप हा त्यांचा पीएचडीचा विषय होता त्या प्रबंधाचा. द इव्होल्युशन अँड डेव्हलपमेंट ऑफ प्रोव्हिन्शियल फायनान्सेस इन ब्रिटिश इंडिया. त्यामध्ये त्यांनी अनालाइज केल्यानंतर, विश्लेषण केल्यानंतर 1921 सालपर्यंत, 1833 ते 1921 सालपर्यंत केंद्र आणि राज्य, त्यावेळची राज्य, ब्रिटिश केंद्र सरकार आणि ब्रिटिश राज्य यांचे आर्थिक संबंध कसे विकसित होत गेले आणि ते कसे असायला पाहिजे होते याचं विवेचन त्यांनी केलेलं आहे. तुम्हाला आश्चर्य वाटेल, हा विषय आज भीतीला सुद्धा जागतिक दृष्टिकोनातून अतिशय महत्वाचा आहे. आपल्याकडे फायनान्स कमिशनची निर्मिती करण्यात येते. दर 5 वर्षांनी केंद्र सरकार फायनान्स कमिशन देतं. त्या फायनान्स कमिशनचं काय काम असतं? त्यांचं काम हे असतं की केंद्र सरकारकडे जो कर रूपानं आणि इतर माध्यमातून जो पैसा एकत्र होईल त्याचं वाटप कसं करायचं, केंद्र सरकारला किती द्यायचं, राज्य सरकारला किती द्यायचं, त्याची काय तत्व असायला पाहिजे याची निश्चिती करायचं काम हे फायनान्स कमिशन करत असतं. आजपर्यंत आपल्या देशामध्ये 16 फायनान्स कमिशन येऊन गेलेले आहेत. 17व्या फायनान्स कमिशनचं काम आता सध्या चालू आहे. या 16ही फायनान्स कमिशनचं जे मूळ स्रोत आहे, the basic source of reference for all the finance commission reports to this date, that is Dr. Ambedkar's PhD dissertation. We know, regrettably, we know the finance commission, but we do not know that the father of all the finance commission reports is really father of finance commission. Is also the idea was also, it was Dr. Ambedkar's idea to put it in the constitution, and it is being implemented. We see it is being implemented, but we do not know that he started with Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar. The third book that he wrote was truly a masterpiece in monetary economics. This was his Doctor of Science dissertation, and this Doctor of Science dissertation was called The Problem of Rupee, Its Origin and Its Solution. We know yesterday rupee crossed 90 level, and today that is a big talk. But Dr. Ambedkar talked about the problem of rupee those days. And there again, he takes a historical view, a long-term historical view. He talks about how the Indian rupee has evolved as a medium of exchange for a long period of time. Again, the period is 1833 to 1921. He talks about the evolution, and then he talks about what was the very hot topic of the day at that time. The topic was, what should be the ideal currency system for a developing country like India? भारतासारख्या विकसनशील देशासाठी आदर्श चलन पद्धती कोणती असली पाहिजे याच्याबद्दल वाद चालला होता. त्यावेळी जगातले फार मोठे विद्वान अर्थतज्ञ, अजूनही यांना ऑल टाइम बेस्ट म्हणता येतं, ते लॉर्ड जॉन मेनॉर्ड केन्स, ज्यांचं इकॉनॉमिक्स आजही आपण शिकतो शाळा कॉलेजेसमध्ये, विद्यापीठांमध्ये, ते जॉन मेनॉर्ड केन्स यांनी असा प्रस्ताव मांडला की भारतासारख्या विकसनशील देशासाठी त्यावेळी चॉईस जो होता तो 2 परिमाणांमध्ये होता, गोल्ड स्टँडर्ड आणि गोल्ड एक्सचेंज स्टँडर्ड. याच्यामधला फरक अगदी सोप्या भाषेत सांगायचा तर गोल्ड स्टँडर्ड मध्ये प्रत्यक्ष सोन्याच्या नाण्यांचा वापर होतो आणि गोल्ड एक्सचेंज स्टँडर्ड मध्ये रुपयाचा, कागदी रुपयाचा वापर होतो, परंतु त्याला बॅकिंग म्हणून गोल्ड ठेवलेला असतं. एका विशिष्ट प्रमाणामध्ये बॅकिंग गोल्डने दिलेलं असतं. डॉक्टर आंबेडकर त्यावेळी केन्सने असा सिद्धांत मांडला की भारतासारख्या विकसनशील देशासाठी गोल्ड स्टँडर्ड हे चांगलं नाही, ते फारच रिजिड आहे. त्यापेक्षा गोल्ड एक्सचेंज स्टँडर्ड हे जास्त चांगलं आहे. त्याचं कारण ते लवचिक आहे. ते लवचिक आहे, त्याची संख्या कमी जास्त करता येते, अमाऊंट वाढवता येते, कमी करता येते, कारण रुपयाचं चलन आहे. त्यामुळे ते आधी छापता येतं, कमी करता येतं. त्या उलट गोल्ड स्टँडर्ड देशामध्ये किती गोल्ड असेल त्याच्यावरच अवलंबून आहे, त्यामुळे त्यात काही फेरफार करता येत नाही किंवा हळूहळू फेरफार होतील. त्यामुळे ती लवचिकता ही फार महत्वाची आहे असं केन्स म्हणणं होतं. आणि ती लवचिकता लक्षात घेऊन त्यांनी गोल्ड एक्सचेंज स्टँडर्डचं पाठपुरावा केला आणि भारतासाठी ते फार योग्य आहे असा मुद्दा मांडला. केन्स असं म्हणायला लागल्यानंतर बाकीच्या सगळ्यांनी त्याचीच री ओढली. त्याला अपवाद एकच होता, डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर. ते म्हणाले नाही, ते पूर्णपणे असहमत आहेत असं त्यांनी सांगितलं. त्यांचं काय आर्ग्युमेंट, काउंटर आर्ग्युमेंट काय होतं? ते म्हणाले की केन्स म्हणतोय ते बरोबर आहे की गोल्ड एक्सचेंज स्टँडर्ड मध्ये लवचिकता आहे, त्यांचं असं म्हणणं होतं की लवचिकता हे दुधारी अस्त्र आहे. ते एकीकडे चांगलं आहे, दुसरीकडे वाईट आहे. ते चांगलं काय आहे, त्याच्यामध्ये सरकारवर अनाठाई बंधनं येत नाहीत म्हणून ते चांगलं आहे. परंतु ते वाईट कसं आहे, जर सरकार बेजबाबदार असेल तर त्या देशामध्ये अनियंत्रित प्रमाणामध्ये चलन निर्मिती होऊ शकते आणि अनियंत्रित प्रमाणात जर चलन निर्मिती झाली तर त्यातून चलनवाढ, त्यातून भाववाढ, ज्याचा फटका जास्तीत जास्त फटका हा गरीब लोकांना सहन करावा लागतो. आणि म्हणून त्यांनी असं म्हटलं की गोल्ड एक्सचेंज स्टँडर्ड हे आम्हाला नको, त्याच्याऐवजी गोल्ड मॉडिफाईड गोल्ड स्टँडर्डचा त्यांनी पुरस्कार केला. तर तांत्रिक भागात जाण्यात काही इथे जाण्यात काही कारण नाही. पण एवढंच सांगेन की या पुस्तकाच्या आधारावरच ज्यावेळी भारतामध्ये हिल्टन यंग कमिशन नावाचा आयोग आला होता 1926 साली, त्यांचं कार्य काय होतं की रिझर्व्ह बँकेची स्थापना करायची, मध्यवर्ती बँकेची स्थापना भारतासाठी करायची, यासाठी तो आयोग पाठवण्यात आला होता. त्या आयोगासमोर अत्यंत महत्वाची साक्ष डॉक्टर आंबेडकरांनी दिलेली आहे की चलन नियंत्रण करण्याचे अधिकार हे मध्यवर्ती बँकेकडे असले पाहिजेत. रिझर्व्ह बँक, सेंट्रल बँक ऑफ द कंट्री शुड हॅव अथॉरिटी टू रेग्युलेट द क्रेडिट विच इज बीन एक्सटेंडेड टू द गव्हर्नमेंट. पुन्हा त्या तपशिलात न जाता मी एवढंच म्हणेन की त्यानंतर 8 वर्षानंतर रिझर्व्ह बँकेची स्थापना झाली. 1935 1 एप्रिल 1935 रोजी रिझर्व्ह बँकेची स्थापना झाली. यांनी हिल्टन यंग कमिशनने आपला रिपोर्ट 1926-1927 सुमारास दिला. त्यानंतर 8 वर्षांनी रिझर्व्ह बँकेची स्थापना झाली आणि त्या स्थापनेमध्ये एक महत्वाचा वाटा हा बाबासाहेबांचा होता. पूर्णपणे त्यांनी स्थापन केली असं सांगितलं जातं, ते व्हॉट्सअप युनिव्हर्सिटीवर सांगितलं जातं. ते खरं नाही, दुर्दैवाने ते खरं नाही. ते खरं असं तर मला अतिशय आनंद वाटला असता. पण मी रिझर्व्ह बँकेचा ऑफिशियल इतिहासकार आहे. आता लेटेस्ट व्हॉल्यूम जो आरबीआय हिस्ट्रीचा आलाय त्याचं संपादन मीच केलेलं आहे, 5वा व्हॉल्यूम. मी खात्रीपूर्वक आपल्याला सांगतो की अत्यंत महत्वाची साक्ष आहे. परंतु रिझर्व्ह बँकेची स्थापना त्यामुळे डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकरांनी केली असं म्हणणं हे तांत्रिक दृष्ट्या चुकीचं आहे, कारण अनेक तज्ञांनी साक्ष दिली होती आणि 8 वर्षांनी त्यानंतर रिझर्व्ह बँकेचा जन्म झालेला आहे. त्यामुळे आपल्या मनात जो भ्रम काही लोकांच्या मनात जो आहे तो पसरवला गेलेला आहे, तो तांत्रिक दृष्ट्या बरोबर नाही हे मला मुद्दाम प्रामाणिकपणे नमूद करावं वाटतं. ते जर खरं असतं तर मला अतिशय आनंद वाटला असता. त्यातून बाबासाहेबांची महती कमी होत नाही. बाबासाहेबांनी केलेलं कार्य महानच आहे, मात्र त्यांनी रिझर्व्ह बँकेची स्थापना केली असा जो गोड गैरसमज काही लोकांनी करून घेतलेला आहे तो बरोबर नाही. माझ्या मते अर्थतज्ञ म्हणून डॉक्टर आंबेडकरांनी केलेलं फार महत्वाचं विवेचन म्हणजे द व्हेरी इम्पॉर्टंट आस्पेक्ट ऑफ इकॉनॉमिक दॅट ही हँडल्ड, nobody had handled that before, was the economics of the caste system. कास्ट सिस्टम मुळे, जाती व्यवस्थेमुळे आपल्या देशाच्या अर्थव्यवस्थेचं किती प्रचंड नुकसान झालेलं आहे ते डॉक्टर आंबेडकरांनी अनाहिलेशन ऑफ कास्ट या त्यांच्या भाषणामध्ये, जे पुस्तकाच्या रूपाने 1936 साली प्रसिद्ध झालं, त्यामध्ये त्यांनी विवेचन केलेलं. पहिल्यांदा जाती व्यवस्थेमुळे, वर्णाश्रम व्यवस्थेमुळे आर्थिक प्रगतीला खीळ कशी बसते हे त्यांनी त्या ग्रंथामध्ये दाखवून दिलेलं आहे. कारण जिथे तुम्ही लक्षात घ्या की जिथे मुठभर लोकांनाच विद्यार्जन करण्याचा आणि विद्यादान करण्याचा अधिकार आहे, काही लोकांनाच फक्त शस्त्र धारण करण्याचा अधिकार आहे, काही लोकांना फक्त व्यापार करण्याचा अधिकार आहे आणि उरलेल्या सगळ्यांना सगळ्या सेवा करायच्या आहेत, अशी विभाजन ज्या समाजात झालेलं असतं त्या समाजाची आर्थिक प्रगती होऊ शकत नाही. हा सिद्धांत त्यांनी मांडला. त्यानंतरची गोष्ट तुम्ही पहा, एका अमेरिकन संशोधकानं, युरोपियन संशोधक अर्थतज्ञानं 2000 वर्षाचा इतिहास पाहिला. जीडीपी हा कन्सेप्ट आपल्याला सगळ्यांना माहिती आहे, ग्रॉस डोमेस्टिक प्रॉडक्ट. तर प्रत्येक देश दरवर्षी काढत असतो, त्याच्या आकडेवारीची चर्चा होते. सध्या आपल्याकडे चाललेली ते कधी सुरू झालं, 1940 साली. या अर्थतज्ञाने असं म्हटलं की ज्यावेळी हे देश पुढे आले, ज्या जुन्या सिव्हिलायझेशन, चीन सारखी सिव्हिलायझेशन किंवा भारतासारखा देश, ही संस्कृती, यांचं जीडीपी काय असेल 2001 साली, म्हणजे ज्यावेळी गणना सुरू झाली, जीसस क्राइस्टच्या जन्माच्या ग्रेगरियन कॅलेंडर जेव्हापासून सुरू झाली, त्या इसवी 1 मध्ये जगाचं किती जीडीपी भारताकडे असेल, जगाचं किती जीडीपी चीनकडे असेल, त्याने 1000 साली, सॉरी, एक साली, 500 साली, 1000 साली, 1500 साली आणि 1600 साली, असा तो खूप प्रयत्न करून त्यांनी तो डेटा मांडला. आणि तो डेटा तुम्हाला आश्चर्य वाटेल, त्यांनी दाखवून दिले. अमेरिकन डॉक्टर आंबेडकरांनी केली. एम्प्लॉयमेंट एक्सचेंजेसची स्थापना भारतामध्ये कोणी केली? सुरुवात त्याची सुरुवात डॉक्टर आंबेडकरांनी केलेली, आपल्याला माहिती नाहीये. परंतु त्यांनी नद्यांच्या जोडचा प्रकल्प, नंतर खूप त्याची चर्चा झाली की सुरुवात कोसी नदीपासून डॉक्टर आंबेडकरांनी केलेली आहे. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी कमिशन कोणी निर्माण केलेलं आहे? डॉक्टर आंबेडकरांनी केलेलं आहे. त्यामुळे ते नुसतेच पुस्तकी अर्थतज्ञ नव्हते, फार मोठे अर्थप्रशासक होते. आणि त्यांचा हा पैलू आहे, या पैलूबद्दल जितकं जास्त संशोधन होईल तितका तो आणखी पुढे येणार आहे. मला असं वाटतं की भारतामध्ये आजपर्यंत ऐतिहासिक दृष्ट्या जर पाहिलं तर भारतामध्ये आजपर्यंत जेवढे अर्थतज्ञ होऊन गेले त्या सगळ्या अर्थतज्ञामध्ये सर्वकालीन सर्वश्रेष्ठ अर्थतज्ञ कोण असेल असं जर मला प्रश्न अर्थतज्ञ म्हणून विचारला तर त्याचं मी निसंशय उत्तर देईन, ते म्हणजे डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर. मला असं वाटतं की आता आपण दुसरा जो भाग मला देण्यात आलेला आहे संविधानाचा, त्याच्याकडे आपण बोलूया. संविधान जे आहे आपलं, तुम्हाला कल्पना आहे का? आर यू अवेअर दॅट इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज द लॉंगेस्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन in the world? Are you aware that, we all know that the constitution was finalized on 26th November 1949, and then we became a republic 2 months later on 26th January 1950. हे जे संविधान आहे, एक फार मोठा अभ्यास बाहेर आलेला आहे. प्राध्यापक विजय खरे माझे पुणे विद्यापीठातले कलिग आलेले आहेत. 3 अमेरिकन स्कॉलर्सने एक अभ्यास केलेला आहे. द नेम्स ऑफ दिस पीपल आर एल्किन्स, जिन्सबर्ग अँड मेल्टन. They have published a thought-provoking book in 2009. What they did was they analyzed the constitutions, all the constitutions that came up to the year 2009, and they found 220 constitutions were written all over the world. You want to go global perspective? Here's the global perspective. They found that what is the average life of a constitution? If you take a long-term average, it turns out that the total average life of any constitution is only 17 years. 17 वर्ष. कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ही 17 वर्ष ही सरासरी आयुर्मान कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनचं 17 वर्ष आहे. आणि आपलं संविधान पहा, 75 वर्ष होऊन गेल्यानंतर सुद्धा ते कार्यरत आहे आणि उत्तम प्रकारे चाललेलं आहे. हे किती वेगळं आहे हे समजून घेण्यासाठी आपल्या देशाच्या आजूबाजूला तुम्ही पहा. पाकिस्तानमध्ये आतापर्यंत 3 कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन होऊन गेलेले आहेत. पण पाकिस्तानमध्ये बराच काळ असा गेला की ज्यावेळी त्या देशाला कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनच नव्हती. आणि तिथे काय परिस्थिती आहे आपण ते पाहतो आहोत. नेपाळमध्ये तीच परिस्थिती, बांगलादेशमध्ये तीच परिस्थिती, श्रीलंकेमध्ये तीच परिस्थिती आहे. म्हणजे दुसऱ्या महायुद्धाच्या समाप्तीनंतर जी राष्ट्र स्वतंत्र झाली त्यापैकी ज्यांनी डेमोक्रेसीचा अवलंब केला त्या देशांमध्ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन टिकण्याचं प्रमाण हे फार कमी आहे. त्या उलट आपलं संविधान 145 कोटी लोकांना आज एकत्र धरून ठेवणारी सगळ्यात मोठी शक्ती काय असेल तर ते आहे आपलं संविधान. तुम्हाला माहिती आहे का की डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकरांना संविधानाचे शिल्पकार म्हणून कोणीही मान्यता दिली नाही. कुठल्याही भारतीय नेत्याने मान्यता दिली नव्हती. ते नेहरूंचा जो लेखक होता, चरित्रकार, त्याने हे टायटल दिलं आणि मग इतरांनी मग ते अगदी नाखुशीने ते ऍक्सेप्ट केलं की डॉक्टर आंबेडकर वॉज द प्रिन्सिपल आर्किटेक्ट ऑफ द इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अँड द फील्ड मार्शल. फुल टायटल इज फील्ड मार्शल ऑफ द कॅम्पेन फॉर न्यू Indian Constitution. This was given by an Englishman, which has been reluctantly accepted by our leaders. तुम्ही आपल्या घटनेच्या निर्मितीचा इतिहास पहा, फार इंटरेस्टिंग आहे. बहुतेकांना असं वाटतं, most people believe that our constitution was created in the period 1946 to 1950. There was a Constituent Assembly created, and that finally came out with the Constitution. That is true, but it is half truth. Do you know when the first draft of the Constitution was made? In 1895, when Dr. Ambedkar was 4 years old. And who inspired that first Constitution? First draft of the Constitution was inspired by no less than Lokmanya Bal Gangadhar Tilak. That was 1895. Then there was a second attempt that was made. That was, so what had happened was, it started in 1895 and ended in 1895 and ended in 1950. So it took, the process was 55-year-long process. The first constitution draft that was made by, inspired by Lokmanya Tilak. After that, there was, the second attempt was, so there was Indian attempt and there was British attempt. Indian attempts by Indian leaders and British attempts at constitutional reforms. After the first attempt of 1895, which did not go anywhere, the second attempt was made when the British sent the South Boroughs Commission to India. The year was 1917. South Boroughs Commission came here to India, and their job was to decide who should have right to vote. Franchise committee, they called it. So that was what was decided. So when this committee came, as their destiny would have it, that was exactly the time when Dr. Ambedkar, against his will, had to come back. There was a discontinuity in his education because the Maharaja Sayajirao Gaikwad of Baroda, his people refused to give him an extension, so he had to come back, leaving halfway. Then he went back again and completed it, but that's another story. So in 1918, he came back, and that was the time when the British announced the arrival of South Boroughs Committee. And Dr. Ambedkar immediately went and made a presentation before the South Boroughs Committee. And what a presentation he made. He was 28-year-old. We were under a foreign rule. You know what he recommended? He recommended adult franchise. He recommended that largest number of people should have right to vote. Because the proposal at that time was only educated people, only property people, 3% of the population was supposed to be given the right to vote. That time, 1919, even Americans did not have voting right for women. That happened in 1920. And 1 year before that, here was Dr. Ambedkar, a young man of 28, who was telling the commission, this committee, that you should have voting right to as many people as possible, including women. Just look at the visionary, 28 years old. This was the second attempt. Then in 1925, Annie Besant created the third draft. Third draft was what's called Commonwealth Bill. That was presented to the British Parliament, but the Labour government fell and then it could not be discussed in the Parliament. So that was gone. After that, then the British government sent here Simon Commission. Simon Commission came here to get the views of people. But what happened was there was not a single member, Indian member in the Simon Commission. So Indians boycotted that. Everybody, Mahatma Gandhi boycotted that. Congress party, which was the largest party, they boycotted that. Dr. Ambedkar said, I will not boycott. He went before the Simon Commission and gave a testimony. But the Simon Commission report did not go anywhere. And if you recall, there was a lot of hartals, bands, and it took a wrong turn. And in one of the, I think in Punjab, the Lion of Punjab, Lala Lajpat Rai, he died because of the lathi charge that was made there. So that was stopped. So this happened in 1927 or thereabout. After that, then the British challenged that if you don't like our draft, why don't you come up with your own draft? So Congress party appointed a committee. The fourth draft was Motilal Nehru Committee's draft. Fourth draft was Motilal Nehru Committee draft. And Motilal Nehru was the father of Jawaharlal Nehru. He was the chairman of the committee. And you know who was the secretary of that committee? The young, dashing Jawaharlal Nehru was the secretary of the committee. And घराणेशाहीची सुरुवात कदाचित तेव्हापासून झाली असू शकेल. But that was the situation. Motilal Nehru came out with a good draft. He talked for the first time about fundamental rights. Fundamental rights for Indian people. That was very unusual. But Dr. Ambedkar opposed it. You know what he said? Announcement of fundamental rights means nothing. You must have a provision. What access common man has if his or her fundamental rights are violated? There's nothing in there. So these fundamental rights are nothing but noble slogans. घोषणाबाजी आहे. जर एखाद्याचे मूलभूत अधिकार हिरावण्याचा प्रयत्न झाला तर त्याला त्या व्यक्तीला काय करावं याच्यासाठी काही मार्ग सुचवलेला नाही. So he opposed it. Many years later, when Dr. Ambedkar wrote the final constitution, there is an Article 32 in our constitution. Can you imagine? That gives right to every citizen to access Supreme Court directly, without the district level court, without the state level court, directly to Supreme Court if he or she has their fundamental rights violated. Now this right was given, and Dr. Ambedkar called that particular provision, Article 32, as the heart and soul of the Indian Constitution. That happened later. So this was 1928 or thereabout. In 1930, then the British had roundtable conferences, 1930 to 1932. As if you recall, in the first roundtable conference, you know what they did was British government invited lot of rulers, the rulers like princely states rulers, as well as leaders of all the parties. They were called to London, and there were 3 conferences. The first conference, and Dr. Ambedkar was chosen as a representative of the marginalized classes. And Dr. Ambedkar knew that was his great opportunity. So he went to the conference. Mahatma Gandhi had boycotted that. So Congress party did not show up there. That was an opportunity. So Dr. Ambedkar made a brilliant speech there, several speeches, and dominated the whole conference. That came to Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, when he came to know, he sent him a postcard saying that, I want to meet you. Tell me whether I should come to you or you will come to me. So Ambedkar obviously said that, no, Bapuji, you don't come, I will come to you. Because Mahatma Gandhi was 22 years older than him. And the first meeting is a historic meeting. You should read the details of the meeting. In that meeting, Mahatma Gandhi that meeting took place in Mumbai, in Nirmala Niketan, in Mumbai, Mani Bhavan building that took place. The memory is still there, Mani Bhavan. Mahatma Gandhi made Dr. Ambedkar wait for more than half an hour. And what was he doing? Was he very busy? No. He was showing how the charkha works. Charkha kasa chalto te परदेशी वार्ताहरांना ते समजावून सांगत होते. So Dr. Ambedkar was very angry. So finally, before he exploded, he was called in. So the opening line was, Mahatma Gandhi said, Dr. Ambedkar, I am told that you have been speaking against me and writing against me. I want you to know that I started my work against untouchability from the time when you were not even born. तुमचा जन्मही झाला नव्हता तेव्हापासून मी हे काम करतो आहे. You know what was Dr. Ambedkar's answer? All old people take a refuge under their age if they have no other point. आणि गांधी समजलेच. सगळे म्हातारे लोक दुसरा काही मुद्दा नसला तर आपल्या वयाचा मुद्दा काढतात. गांधीजींना हे अपेक्षितच नव्हतं, अभिप्रेतच नव्हतं, कारण एवढे राष्ट्रीय नेते आणि हा यंग माणूस असं आपल्याला बोलतो आहे. That conversation went from bad to worse. Finally, Dr. Ambedkar left, and while leaving, what he said is unbelievable. Nobody could have dared to say what he did. He said that Mahatmas are like fleeting phantoms. They only raise the dust, but not the level of the people. And he stormed out. And then there was second roundtable conference, and there was a big debate between the two of them, amne samne. and you should see the wording of the debate. They fought like street fighters. And basically the point was whether the scheduled caste or Dalits, whether they should have independent constituencies or not. Mahatma Gandhi was saying, I don't mind separate electorates for Christians. I don't mind separate electorates for Muslims. I don't mind separate electorates for Sikhs. But I will not tolerate separate electorates for Dalits. I don't want the division of Hindus. And Dr. Ambedkar, of course, took the position that there must be independent electorates for Dalits. So what happened was, finally it was decided that we'll leave it to the British government to decide what is to be done about it. So everybody signed and gave to the crown that whatever you decide is okay by us. Mahatma Gandhi signed it, Dr. Ambedkar did not sign it. But what happened was, Mahatma Gandhi was absolutely certain that the verdict is going to be in his favor. But 6 months later, when the verdict came, the verdict had gone completely in favor of Dr. Ambedkar. And Mahatma Gandhi, who was in jail at that time, Yarwada jail in Pune, he announced next day that he is going to go on fast unto death. He said that let Ambedkar withdraw his demand. Look, only Mahatmas can do that. Ordinary people cannot do that. A judgment goes against you and then you try to force the person who has gone to court to withdraw the complaint. ये कहाँ का नियम है? But that is what Gandhi did, and there was a lot of uproar. Finally, there was, after a lot of, that time Ambedkar was called traitor, and the whole country turned up against him because the life of Mahatma was in his hand. So finally, under pressure, he bowed against his best wishes and he signed the so-called Pune Pact, under which no separate electorates were given to Dalits, but joint electorates with reservation for Dalits. That was the formula that was agreed, and I will tell you, we are still suffering from that. In the sense that, so on the whole, one can say that while Dr. Ambedkar won the intellectual battle against Mahatma Gandhi completely defeated him in the political battle. That is the distinction that I make. Going back to the Constitution, this went on. Then there were Cripps Commission. Then there was the three ministers committee. So went on. Finally, in 1946, they decided to have a Constituent Assembly. Unfortunately, in 1945 election, Dr. Ambedkar did not get enough people elected because the issue was independence. So most of the seats were won by either Congress Party or the Muslim League. Other parties got very little. So Ambedkar had no say. He was a minister in the British government, but he did not have any say. So British were also getting very uneasy that he does not have enough backing. So when the Constituent Assembly was to be formed, Dr. Ambedkar was going to be kept out of it. In fact, Sardar Patel has gone on record that we will not allow Ambedkar to enter through the main door. We will not allow him to come through window. We will not even allow him to enter through the shutters. Dr. Ambedkar was saying Constituent Assembly is not required at all because he knew there is no way he can get in. But one of his colleagues, Jogendranath Mandal, not the same as BP Mandal, Commission Wala, BP Mandal, Jogendranath Mandal. Jogendranath Mandal did something in Bengal and got Dr. Ambedkar elected from Bengal. So from the back door he made an entry. When he was in the Constituent Assembly, it started on 8th December 1946 when Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru made a big speech about what are the objectives of the Constitution. Then they were discussing. That time Barrister Jayakar came with an argument that the Muslim League has boycotted the Constituent Assembly, so we should not continue. We should wait until they come and join. So Congress leaders did not like that at all. They wanted to forge ahead. And surprisingly, Rajendra Prasad, who was in the chair, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, he invited Dr. Ambedkar to speak. Ambedkar was a minority of one in a house of 295 odd people. Dr. Ambedkar knew that was his opportunity. Actually, he said the same thing which Jaikar had said, but he put it so effectively that if we walk together hand in hand long enough, then we'll reach the same destination. You know, he was saying the same thing. Let's get the Muslim League in and not go forward without their getting in. But that was so effective that Kakasaheb Gadkar has written in his memoirs that we were all told to hoot out Dr. Ambedkar. But before we realized what is happening, we were all thumping the desk in support of Dr. Ambedkar. That changed the mind of Dr. Baba, of the Congress leadership. And that is why when India became independent, under influence of Mahatma Gandhi, Dr. Ambedkar was made law minister. And again under the influence of Mahatma Gandhi, people don't give, you have to give Mahatma Gandhi credit for these two things. Otherwise, Nehru never wanted Ambedkar to be the law minister. Nehru never wanted Ambedkar to be the architect of the draft chairman of the drafting committee. It was Mahatma Gandhi who made that happen. And we know the rest of the history. Dr. Ambedkar not only very successfully put together all the thoughts. तुम्ही असा विचार करा, कोऑपरेटिव्ह हाऊसिंग सोसायटीच्या मीटिंग मध्ये साधे इश्यू म्हणजे लिफ्टमॅनची सॅलरी वाढवायची की नाही, वाढवायची तर किती वाढवायची, याच्यावर 4-4 तास चर्चा होती. इथे 295 लोक, देशातले सर्वात मोठे विद्वान एकत्र बसले होते आणि त्या सगळ्यांच्या मध्ये मतैक्यता, कन्सेन्सस बिल्ड करायचं अत्यंत कठीण काम हे एकट्या डॉक्टर आंबेडकरांनी केलेलं आहे. तुम्ही लक्षात घ्या, लिहिणं हे एक गोष्ट आहे, रायटिंग द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इज अ ग्रेट जॉब बाय इटसेल्फ, बट पायलटिंग इट and building consensus around every provision, that was something that was a Herculean task, and that was also done by Ambedkar, and that is why it finally led to the Indian Constitution. And I urge all of you, please read the final statement that Dr. Ambedkar made, the final speech. In my opinion, out of the 537 speeches that Dr. Ambedkar made, the most powerful speech is this speech of 26th November. That was when 1949. That was when the final draft was presented to the Constituent Assembly. And that speech, everybody must read. There he has talked about how to save the democracy in our country, what we must do. And the most important warning that he has given is that what we have achieved is only a political democracy. राजकीय लोकशाही आपण प्राप्त केलेली आहे, त्यावर समाधान मानता कामा नये. राजकीय लोकशाही जर टिकवून धरायची असेल तर त्याला सामाजिक लोकशाहीची, आर्थिक लोकशाहीची जोड द्यावी लागेल. If you, he said, how long are we going to live the life of contradiction? We have equality in our political life, one man, one vote, one value. But in social and economic life, we have graded inequality. How long are we going to live with this contradiction? If we do not remove this contradiction at the earliest, what will happen is that those who are suffering from this inequality, they are going to blow up the structure of the constitution that this Constituent Assembly has so assiduously built. आणि तिथे ते थांबलेले आहेत. त्यांनी दिलेला हा जो इशारा आहे, मला असं वाटतं की प्रत्येकाने त्या भाषणाचा विचार केला पाहिजे. एवढं पॉवरफुल भाषण कोणी कधी केलं नसेल आणि आपल्या देशाच्या भवितव्याच्या दृष्टीने अत्यंत महत्वाचं ते भाषण आहे. घटना तुम्ही किती प्रेम असू द्या, तुम्ही हे भाषण जर वाचलं नसेल त्या प्रेमाला काय अर्थ, त्या भाषणातून तुम्हाला कळेल डॉक्टर आंबेडकरांची विजन काय. सो ही वॉज नॉट ओनली the principal architect of the Indian Constitution, he also piloted it, and therefore he was the field marshal of the campaign for the Constitution of Independent India. I think I have covered my time and I have covered everything that I wanted to. I have gone very fast, but to cover both of these great areas, I had to do that. I want to thank all of you for giving me patient hearing. And once again, I want to thank Dr. Andrews for having given me an opportunity to come here and talk to you. Thank you. Thank you very much. जय हिंद.